Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to compare the Corsair K95 Platinum XT with Corsair's new K100 flagship gaming keyboard, the K100 RGB. You can see the two here with the white keycaps on the K95 Platinum XT, and the black one is the K100, and you'll note the differences immediately because there's a control wheel in the top left so you can discern between them when you're watching. Now, I've done unboxing videos on both of these, but I want to talk to you about the design feature changes on the K100 that make it stand out from the K95 Platinum XT. The XT was one of my favorite keyboards, which was an upgrade from the original K95 Platinum in a number of ways, and I've done a video comparing those two if you want to check that out as well. That keyboard was a very nice keyboard that came with a number of very nice features to it, similar to the original K95, which included these textured WASD FPS MOBA keys in terms of the Q, W, E, R, A, S, F and D keys, as well as all the usual goodness from Corsair: solid aluminium brushed backplate, multimedia control buttons, dedicated macro keys, a backing that included cable management system that allowed you to run cables around the back of it, a detachable wrist rest with a very nice soft padding to it. The K95 Platinum XT also had a solid bit of padding on there, which was a change from the original K95, which had like a rubber wrist rest that was double-sided and you could swap it over. The highlights to the original K95 Platinum XT included the option of Cherry MX switches with speed silver, brown and blue. The new K100 is quite different in a number of different ways. You'll see it has a detachable leatherette padded wrist rest with the new Corsair logo design on it. This is magnetic, it's held on with magnets instead of a clip, which means it's easier to take off and put back on again without damaging it, which makes a nice little mini upgrade, and speaks to several other small and some significant upgrades to the K100. You'll note, for example, that dial in the top left there, which I'm going to go into a bit more depth as I go through, but it also has other similar features like USB 2.0 pass-through at the top. You'll also see dedicated media macro keys as well, and those on the left hand side are now silver G keys. On the XT you had the option of blue keys or grey ones, and they're both compatible with the K100, and the K95 Platinum XT are both compatible with Stream Deck, which means you can use Stream Deck software to then have actions within your stream. The K100, as you can see, also has a similar cable management system underneath, so there are a lot of similarities between the K100 and the K95, but the K100 is significantly different. For example, the original K95 Platinum XT had a 8MB onboard profile storage system, which allowed for 5 different profiles to be stored. The K100 has a similar size but has a better technology in it, which means you can now store up to 200 different profiles on it. That's stuff that you can customize within Corsair's IQ software, and I've gone into a lot of depth on what you can do on IQ software on the K100 review, so you can check that out. But it basically means you can have 200 different profiles, and you can set up RGB lighting in 20 different layers within that software too, which is pretty nuts. Close-up view of the padded wrist rest, you'll see the original K95 Platinum XT versus the new one on the K100. The new K100 is slightly more padded, more comfortable to use. It has that magnet system on it, very easy to detach. It also has this really cool texture to it. It's unfortunate it's not double-sided, but it will be easy to keep clean. It has a sort of wipe clean surface to it, and a very nice look and feel as well. Nice bit of padding on there, and I really like the addition of a very comfortable wrist rest, and that was one of the reasons why the K95 and the K95 Platinum XT were solid favourites of mine. And these are flagship keyboards from Corsair anyway. The K95 was obviously the main flagship previously. Now the K100 sits above that for a number of reasons, and that includes new optical-mechanical key switches, which I'll go into a bit more depth in a minute. Both these keyboards have PBT double shot keycaps on them, which allow for a better quality and durability. And that is, for the most part, most of the keys on the keyboard. Now, as I said, the K95 Platinum XT had the G keys, but also S keys that you could swap out. And it also had the textured WASD keys, and those are designed for FPS and MOBA. And you can see they've got all these keys have that slight angle to them, so you can feel them and put your fingers on them and notice where your fingers are on the keyboard, and they won't slip off easily. You had the grey ones as standard, and then the blue ones that you could swap out. They don't have that on the K100, they just have standard silver ones, but you do have these newly designed keys that you can see on the left here versus the original textured ones on the right. All the keys are PBT double shot apart from these keys, I believe, and that means that over time they may wear out more. You can see the old ones are worn and torn on my previous keyboard. A close-up look of the K100 keys, and you'll note the PBT double shot nature of them, and you'll see the silver macro keys, no longer textured, and you don't get any replacements on the K100, which is a shame, I think, because I really enjoyed the blue ones on the K95 Platinum XT. Thought they looked really nice. Now, the difference between the K95 Platinum XT and the K100 is the option of the new OPX optical-mechanical switches, which use light beams in order to detect your key presses, which means they can actuate a lot faster and give you a better response. So you had the option of blue, brown or cherry MX speed silver on the K95 Platinum with an actuation of 1.2 millimeters, 45 grams force, 3.4 millimeters travel distance, and a 50 million stroke speed. And that was for the speed silver, and that was designed to be really quick and designed for gamers. The K100 has the option of these new OPX optical-mechanical switches, which are different in a number of ways. They're hyper fast, so they actuate in 1 millimeter, 4 times faster than most mechanical gaming keyboards, with a smooth linear travel to them. They have an actuation distance of just 1 millimeter, 45 grams of actuation force, and a 3.2 millimeter travel distance. They're also guaranteed for up to 150 million key presses. That's 100 million more than the speed silver from Cherry MX, so they're designed to last longer and be more responsive for longer, but also they use that light beam technology to register the key press, which means you activate them a lot quicker and a lot smoother too. The highlight for me is these textured WASD keys on both these keyboards that allow your fingers to sit in the right place, and when you're gaming at night you won't put them in the wrong place by accident. You don't have to look down to see where they are. You can feel the texture difference between those and the standard keys, and because of the sloping, your fingers don't slip off either. Simple design, but something that's really good on both. You'll note the difference immediately between the K100 and the K95. They're much more silver, probably a better quality on the newer model. The other significant change with the K100 is now there's a standard bottom row on that, which means that you can use your own custom key sets. You no longer need to buy the official one from Corsair. You can use different keys and set it up the way you want it. I've actually butchered mine a little bit for demonstration purposes, where I have a HyperX pudding keycap set up and then a mixture of PBT double shot keycaps from the original K95 that I bought separately. Now, the difference between the switches is obviously going to vary depending on what you had. For the K95 Platinum XT, I had blue key switches, which are mostly for typing. Most people that are looking for gaming purposes would have gone for the speeds. But the optical-mechanical switches are probably about the same loudness as blue switches. They're quite loud from what I've seen. Typing on the K100 results in some quite loud key presses. However, it does actuate very nicely and results in a good click experience. And I have done videos separately showing off the sounds of these two keyboards, so if you want to get an idea of those, check out the description where I'll link to both those videos so you can hear what it sounds like and see. The K100 has a very satisfying key press to it though still, and if you don't mind the volume of it, you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. As I said, it's meant to be a lot more responsive though. The other difference between the K95 Platinum and the K100 is the K100 has a 4000 Hz polling rate, and I'll show you a bit more on that later on, and 4000 Hz key scanning. All this means that it registers your key presses a lot faster than your traditional gaming keyboards and reacts really quickly. This is something that we've seen with Razer's key switches and also things like the SteelSeries Apex Pro, where the key presses are registered like almost instantly. You just need a really light press. The key switches on the K100 are still able to be pressed down quite far though, so you can engage with the keyboard basically any way. It will suit whatever sort of style you have, whether you're a light touch or whether you like to mash those keys. And I found it satisfying to use for both gaming and working as well without any problems. Within Corsair's IQ software, you can also customize the keys on both these keyboards, and you can set RGB lighting on a per key basis. The lighting on them is fantastic, and I'll show you a bit more on that later on. But another thing you can do with the K100 is you can also customize, create macros and actions for each and every key on the keyboard too. I was programming macros to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons, whatever you want to do, and you can set that up in an interesting way. The other highlights to the K100 are simple things like they've included a function button on the bottom row now, and if you press that and then one of the number buttons, you can then change between the various RGB lighting effects on the fly without having to use the IQ software, which means you have a lot easier control over it. Now you also have the profile switching button on the K95 Platinum XT. On the K100 you have this dial on the top left, and I'll show you a bit more about that in a minute, but that basically allows you to do various things, including customizing the lighting brightness on the fly too, so you can turn the lighting up and down with ease and really quickly. So there's a lot more sort of on the fly actions and things that you can do at a hardware level rather than within the software. So the K100 is easily accessible and less faffy, but also a lot more customizable. The fact that you can have 200 memory profiles stored on there, which is obviously insane, means you can set up profiles for all manner of things, whether that's using in Windows, using in specific games, circumstances, if you're doing video editing or something where you want specific actions on things, or whatever else in Photoshop, something like that. There's plenty of different options that you can do within here. This wheel is also multifunction, so you can not only adjust the brightness levels, but you can also press the button in the middle and then switch between various different modes, and those modes can be customized within IQ, and you can also change the lighting effect that's on those. So the dial control options has this brightness control, you can go up and down with the brightness on that. You also have track jogging, action playback, switch applications, vertical scrolling, horizontal scrolling, zooming, and other things. And the action playback is where it's at, because you can basically create hardware actions in a different place in IQ, and then you can turn them on in here and activate them with the scroll wheel by just going in the different directions. Simple things like track jogging is interesting as well, because that's basically just fast forwarding and rewinding between inside a song. Rather than skipping the song going on to the next one, you're basically fast forwarding within it or rewinding within it on the fly, which is a very nice touch too. Something like switch applications just basically takes the place of alt tabbing between different applications that are on and running at the moment, and then you can do vertical scrolling, various basic actions, some of which you might think, what's the point in doing this? But actually when you realize the potential control for it is quite interesting. So vertical scroll basically takes the place of using your mouse wheel and scrolling up and down a long page. You can do that, and you can then just roll this wheel up and down, and you can do that instead of using your mouse, which means that you can use your mouse hand for something else, or you can obviously action this within different bits of software. It might be particularly useful for scrubbing through a timeline, for example, in video editing purposes. And you can also zoom in and out of web pages and other things. It shows the potential for it. You can turn on and off things you don't like too. Now the other thing I was talking about is the polling rate. The K100 has a 4000 Hz polling rate that you need to turn on with on IQ software, and that and the intelligent software hardware packed within it basically is what allows it to do to have the mass of profile storage and intelligence. The K95 Platinum XT only had 1000 Hz polling rate by comparison, so quite a bit different. Both these keyboards have USB pass-through, both of them USB 2.0, both require you to plug in two different USB cables to your PC in order to make the most of that, and they both have a very hefty, thick cable to do so. The result of this is obviously you can then plug in a mouse or a headset, and then you can run that through the cable channeling on the back, and you have easy access to that, and that's actually very handy and a very simple affair. It would be nice to have extras, but it's a minor point. One of the things I really liked about the K95 Platinum XT is the multimedia controls, so you have the ability to play, pause, skip, stop, and mute music and audio on your PC from these buttons up here. There's also a volume control wheel. This same logic is moved to the K100 as well, although the quality of it has been rethought, and the design of it is a much nicer looking wheel that has a really smooth and satisfying action to it. Something simple like that can make quite a difference. And here you can see the media controls. You'll also note there's a similar texture design to the ridging on the volume wheel as there is on the dial, and like something like the padding on the wrist rest as well. There's a lot of similar thought that have gone into the design of it. Now, with the RGB lighting, you can see there's a nice bit of light bleed on the K95 Platinum XT, and as I said, the keyboard is programmable on a key-by-key basis. It had an RGB lighting bar that runs around the outside at the top, and all of it could be customized, so you can go between different lighting modes within the profiles, and you can customize it within IQ software and layer effects to have a very nice looking keyboard, and the end result was something that shone very nicely. And I was impressed with the RGB lighting on the K95 Platinum XT, and it looked great even with the double shot keycaps. I've seen other keyboards, for example from Razer, where PBT double shot keycaps end up with not enough light shining through the tops, but you can see here from the XT that the result is still a very nice looking keyboard, and it really shines still as well. With the keycaps off, you can also see a nice bit of the light bleed from the housing, and day or night that lighting was also very good. At the rear you can see that lighting panel and the RGB lighting on that, and that could be customized all the way along too. The K100 though has much superior lighting. It has a RGB lighting zone that goes around the entirety of the outside, so down the side and along the back. It's a 44 zone RGB lighting setup here, which is customizable on each bits of those sections. But what you will also notice is a better quality aesthetic to it. It's a much nicer looking lighting zone. It also lights downwards onto the desk, so you don't really see it jutting out of the sides like you did with the XT, but instead it has this sort of downward facing light that lights up your desk really nicely. Again, the lighting on the K100 is fantastic, really nice and bright, and you can also set up all kinds of different RGB lighting effects in here, with up to 20 different effects layered on top of each other. As I said earlier in the video, you can press the function key, which has actually been hidden here by a Windows key next to the right Alt key, because I've got the wrong keycap on there. But basically, if you press and hold the function key, you can press 1 to 9 and change between the lighting schemes without using IQ software, and then you can adjust the speed of them and all sorts of things as well. If you go into IQ software, you can then set up layers of effects, so you can have a base layer. For example, I've got white here, I then put blue on WASD, I then put type lighting on top of that, and then had that react, so you can see you have two sort of static solid colors, and then you have lighting on top of that reacting. And being able to layer those effects means you can customize the lighting and create a really nice looking keyboard. So the end result is that the K100 is superior for a number of different reasons. Mainly those key switches. You have the optical-mechanical switches, which react a lot quicker. You have 4000 Hz polling rate, and it's designed to be a lot faster and more agile, with PBT double shot keycaps resulting in a good, solid, durable build. Also has an excellent build quality to it. The RGB lighting is a lot more customizable. 200 different profiles means that you can customize and set the settings and macros and all sorts of other things up in every way you want to, and customize it the way you want it to be. Basically, the end result is a much more premium keyboard with some significant changes rather than minor adjustments, and one that can be customized to react in the way you want it to, with a multitude of different control options. Be sure to check out the dedicated video specifically on these keyboards for more information. Hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, interesting, hilarious, or all of the above. Be sure to check out the description for other information you might find interesting, and subscribe and watch these other videos as well that I think might be useful to you, and have a great life.